Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Purple Breakdown, a podcast covering the Baltimore Ravens. I am your host, Alex, and I'm so excited to be back here with you today on another episode. I know a few days ago I released my previous episode, and we're back here on this wonderful Friday. I hope everyone's got great plans for the weekend, and we'll be watching the Super Bowl this weekend as the Patriots take on the Seahawks, and the Olympics have already begun, but opening ceremony was also tonight. So I hope everyone is able to watch the Olympics and that Team USA does very well. But we're not here to talk about the Super Bowl. We're not here to talk about the Olympics. We're here to talk about the Ravens and what's going on with the Ravens. And got more coaching update. More hires have been made. Israel Woolfolk has been hired as the QB coach for the Ravens. He was previously with the Cardinals and helped Kyler Murray out and helped develop Kyler Murray. And when he's coming in, I think he has similarity. Kyler and Lamar have similarity with running, not with how performance has been for them, though Murray has had good games. He's also he's had some games where he's not. But it's somebody who has experience coaching a similar quarterback style to what Lamar plays. And number one thing I'm looking for him to do is bring consistency to Lamar. I talked about in the last podcast that Lamar needs to stop playing as much hero ball. And honestly, he's not the only one. Lamar is not the only one that needs to stop playing as much hero ball. Zay Flowers needs to stop playing as much hero ball. The defense at time needed to just execute and not play me ball either. But he's going to need to have a good connection with Lamar. Anyone that's going to coach Lamar has to have a good connection in there with Lamar. So I'm looking for Woolfolk to come in, create a connection with Lamar, and bring consistency to Lamar's game and have him held responsible and keep going that way. Lou I can't really pronounce his last name that much. I apologize, but Lou Esposito has been hired off Michigan as the defensive line coach for the Ravens, and he was the defensive line coach for Michigan. He has done great work with Michigan. If anyone's watched Michigan in the past few years, the defensive line has had some monsters come out of it, one that has come into the division for the Browns. But this is a great hire, I think, because when you're looking at the Ravens and what they need to focus on, especially on the defensive side and even on the offensive side, it is the trenches. They need to focus on the trenches and rebuilding the trenches and bringing consistency there. And the big side on the defense was, yes, Travis Jones had a good year. Yes, Draymond Jones had a good year. But there was still a lot of inconsistency on the defensive line. And so bringing in a guy who knows how to coach up a defensive line will be good. And his coaching style is not what you think of the typical high school coach where they get mad and the only thing they do is yell to try and get you to correct. No, he brings these players on a journey to try and build them up. Where are we coming from? Where are we going? We're going to hold everyone responsible. Why are we playing football? Why are we here? Remember that, and let's develop further and go for it. I think this is a great thing coming out because not only are you asking the other defensive linemen to step up, but you're asking young ones to step up that need consistency and need consistency brought back to it from this past year where it just sort of fell apart. Also going along with that, Harlan Bauer, Duke's outside linebacker coach, has been hired by the Ravens too. He helped the Blue Devils get 26 sacks this year on the defense. Anthony Jr. was the leading sacker there, I believe, with 7.5 sacks. And I think this is another good hire too, because when you're looking at it, you need your more than likely you're drafting another young edge defender this year. And you're asking Mike Green to take a step forward. You're not just asking Mike Green to take a step forward. You need Mike Green to take a step forward. And so how are you going to develop him? Well, bringing in Lou from Michigan and bringing in Harlan from Duke. And you're going to have these two guys help develop and bring the consistency back to the defensive line, bring pressure back towards the quarterback and getting after the quarterback, helping Mike Green not only take a step at furthering his game, but getting towards the quarterback and getting pressure because he was 6 out of rookies in pressure last year on quarterbacks. But bringing his run defense up too, because his run defense did lack, and he was dead last in run defense out of all the rookies. And then the final hire that has been made by the Ravens today is Marcus Brady. And this just happened today too. Marcus Brady, formerly on the Chargers, is being hired into the Ravens. And I love this because I've discussed him before and said this was another possible target for offensive coordinator for the Ravens. But he's not an offensive coordinator. He's being brought in to help solidify the offense and help support Declan Doyle. And Marcus Brady is another one like Lombardi who has had experience play calling. He was the offensive coordinator for the Colts, and he helped Jonathan Taylor go into what he was and have great rushing years. And this is where I don't just think where you brought in Faulkner off the Steelers, where he can help develop the running backs with catching and getting some more yards out of them. But then you bring in Marcus Brady, and maybe he can help develop into the running backs more and help that. And then you have Lombardi. The Sean Payton connection is the same with Declan Doyle. And so I think you're looking at this entire offense and what's getting brought in to support the offense and even the offensive line coach, that this offense is going to take a step forward next year. The Ravens offense will take a step forward. You are building a solid coaching staff. And not only are you building a solid coaching staff, I love the fact that some of these hires that the Ravens have made were getting interviews to be offensive coordinators or head coaches or so on. And they specifically said, no, I don't want to go take that yet because playing and coaching for the Ravens is different. It means something more. And so coaches are looking at this and they're looking at the Ravens going, there's something here. There's something special that I want to be a part of. And I think Jesse Minter and the coaching staff that is getting created at the Ravens right now is going to be one of the best in the league this coming year. And it's so fun to watch these top coaches that everyone was thinking might go somewhere else go, no, I'm coming to the Ravens because I want to specifically be a coach for Raven, even if I'm passing up opportunities elsewhere. And then the final bit of news for coaching is that Chuck Pagano will not be staying with the Ravens. He will be going away. And I think this is somewhat a choice too of new coaching staff coming in, and not only new coaching staff, the old is going out. Most of the former coaching staff for the Ravens under Harbaugh has left and is going elsewhere. Also to an AFC North rival with Todd Monken going to the Browns. But I think it's sort of making way, and he's just sort of respecting it's time to let the new staff come in and take their way. They got to go their way. And Chuck Pagano has a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge, but I think he's recognizing, especially after how this past year ended, it's time to let an entire new staff just come in and help coach the Ravens back up and bring it back to what it was. And that is all the coaching news that there was for today. Now, what I'm going into next is there's some trade rumors coming back up again, and some interesting ones. First off, Maxx Crosby. And Maxx Crosby has been on the board a lot, and we've had to talk about him a lot. And Max has now finally fully come out and said, I want out of the Raiders. Not so much because he dislikes the Raiders. It's because he doesn't want to be there for another rebuild, and he said that. He wants to go out and win championships because that's what makes you one of the best players of all time is if you go and you play at an elite level and go win championships. And so he's 28 years old. He's looking, I don't have possibly, too many years left playing, maybe 3, 4, 5 more years, and then he's done. And when will he start slipping down the other side and not being as effective as he was? And so he's thinking, I want to go win a championship now. And so he wants out. And now he is a player that everyone will be looking at and going, I want him. Like, that's every team is going to look at him and have to have consideration towards that. And then the other player is actually Derrick Henry got on the Up and Adams show, and he wants the Ravens to go trade for A.J. Brown. And A.J. Brown is receiver for Philadelphia Eagles, has won a Super Bowl with them. This past year, he had 1,000 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns. And so these are two high-level profile players that could really come in and have an impact for the Ravens between Max Crosby and A.J. Brown. The problem is, as we go back to the problems before, free agency and the cap space that is there. The Ravens have 24 players leaving in free agency. They have to re-sign multiple of them, especially since multiple of them are key pieces for the Ravens. And you don't have enough cap space right now, because even though you can get 22, 25 million extra dollars in cap space, most of that's going to go towards re-signing Tyler Linderbaum. And then you're left back at square one. And so you need Marlon Humphrey to get cut. And I know he's a definite cut target right now for the Ravens. I think they're already looking at that. That could save you a lot of money right there. And you got to look at restructuring contracts. You got to be looking at possibly trading. Now, Derrick Henry also made an interesting point, and that goes into the cap space, is that he not only wants A.J. Brown, but he really wants the Ravens to re-sign Isaiah Likely. He's vertically stretching the field tight end, good receiver. Mark Andrews has been a little bit more of the blocker at times. But again, you don't get Likely unless you open up more cap space, and you got to find a way to open up more cap space. And that's, who do you let walk from free agency? Who do you restructure? Who do you trade? And who do you extend and cut? And extending Lamar and getting that contract more spread even over multiple years could free up $30 million in cap space that would work so well towards this. Now, if the Ravens are looking towards A.J. Brown and Max Crosby, and this is really up to Minter and DaCosta and what they see as the best fit for the team going forward, and I think it's going to be more of work between all levels this time, that it will be Minter, DaCosta, and lots of the coaching staff, which the Ravens are very good at, having everyone come together, make these decisions, and decide what's best going forward. But you're not getting both. Their contracts are just too large. The cap hit for A.J. Brown this next year would be $23 million, and the cap hit for Crosby would be $35 million. And you're not going to get them for free. I mean, Max Crosby, you're at least giving 2 first-round picks if you're not giving up Lamar, which that would be one of the contracts you could do, is trades you could do, is giving up Lamar and getting Max Crosby in the first overall pick, of which then you're taking Mendoza. But I don't think Lamar goes anywhere. I think the Ravens have extreme trust in him. They're going to get this contract extended. Or you're giving up 2 first-round picks and possibly young defenders or young offensive players, and looking at the offensive side of the ball. If they're looking at it for wide receiver, there's Bateman. You could be looking at maybe trading. You're not giving out Andrews because they already have Bowers. You're not trading away Derrick Henry, so you're looking at your receivers that you could trade over, but I think they would look more at the defensive side with upside defensive players that are young on the defensive side of the ball. That could be Teddy Buchanan. That could be Trenton Simpson. That could be multiple other players on the defensive side, maybe Tavius Robinson or somebody else. But I think that's a steep price, especially with how I think the Ravens want to operate moving forward. And I think DaCosta he's said this in the press conference, that how you build a team is not through always making these big name trades that bring in big name players, but by building through the draft and free agency. And I think trading for Max Crosby or A.J. Brown is a win now mentality. I know a lot of people want to win the Super Bowl with the team that exists, but the problem is, if you win now and get in cap space problems, or you don't win now and are cap space problems again, you're back to square one. What you're looking for is, yeah, we want to win now, but how do we make a team that wins now but can win again next year, the year after? 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, 4 years down the line, 5 years down the line. And how you do that is by building through the draft and free agency. And so I wouldn't want to see the Ravens giving up young, high upside players on the defensive side of the ball or the offensive side of the ball that have shown that they have talent there, especially with Trenton Simpson. Trenton Simpson stepped up this past year and showed so many flashes. I was like, oh my gosh, he's taken the step forward. He is going to continue to take the step forward. is he going to be the flashiest player out there? No, but he's going to be a solid contributor year after year. And I think that's something the Ravens cannot lose on the defensive side of the ball right now. They need consistency. And so not only does it make sense to trade away these young defensive players or offensive players that have the upside for the Ravens and bring consistency and power to the team, but the Ravens also need the first round picks that they have. As the Ravens have drafted very well over these past few years. They always draft over the mentality of best available, and that has worked very well for them. I mean, getting Linderbaum and Kyle Hamilton in the same draft, insane. Teddy Buchanan last year, showing lots of promises. Malachi Starks is showing promise. Mike Green is showing promise. I mean, Zay Flowers has been doing extremely well for the Ravens. As much as he may not be getting touchdowns, he's getting yards, and he shows flashes. As much as I would also like for him not to play as much hero ball and just take what is given to him. But they draft very well. And so you need to rely on your draft picks. And so if I'm the Ravens, I steer away from these big name trades that could get you in some trouble if they don't pan out. As much as I say, yeah, they could do massive impact, I think look at free agency. There's talent that's there. There's impact that could be win now talent that is there, and that could help propel the team back into the playoffs and towards a Super Bowl. Help teach the younger guys, and multiple of them I'd love to see step even further this next year. I'm looking at Trenton. I'm looking at Teddy. Mike Green needs to take that step forward. Malachi Starks, I want to see take another step forward, because it sounds like they're going to use Kyle Hamilton and all over the place and try and bring him down closer to the point of attack and maybe operate more along the line too. So you need that backfield with the safeties and the cornerbacks to get strong, and Malachi needs to be one to take that step forward. Same with Nate Wiggins, their cornerback, if Humphrey's gone. And Emory Jones Jr., it sounds like it's going to get this to take the step forward if both the guards are let go and walk. And then you need to bring in young talent through the draft best available, high upside players that can be developed and brought up and be big impact players, and bring in some of the free agents that we've discussed before that have high impact for the Ravens now. Even and the Ravens have this great, they've done well with bringing in people that have proven value, but be it Chidobe Awuzie last year or Alohi Gilman, they have proven value of doing that. Now, the only place I would argue and say that, again, I've reiterated this multiple times, that they've messed up when doing that is when it comes to wide receiver, especially down the field, big X-factor receivers with OBJ and DeAndre Hopkins. I think DeAndre is starting to take his steps back, and yes, does he make insane catches, but you cannot keep revolving around the idea with receiver of bringing in old, big talent that was X-factor receivers that just don't pan out, either because you're not using them right or because they're just, it's the end of their career. But that is pretty much what I had to discuss today, is the coaching changes and looking ahead at these trade rumors. And I do think that there are trade targets that the Ravens could be looking. And I think there will be trades that will occur. I think part of them will be to open up draft space and bring in young talent. But I think they'll be looking a lot towards free agency. And I mean, there could be free agency cuts where teams that are in cap space purgatory right now, that don't have much cap space, even with the cap space about to expand, that still need more money. Well, there could be some that players that come off them that could be picked up, like for the Jags with Cleveland. He'd be an amazing guard for the Ravens. Would solve between Emory Jones Jr. and him in the guard positions. I think that would solidify the O-line pretty well. But I'll be doing some more research into possible trades that the Ravens could make. We're going to be revisiting free agency here again as we get closer to March, as it opens up on March 11th. And I'll be releasing the draft video here shortly. I'm doing it on a separate video than this because there were some technical difficulties with the podcast last time I did that. So the draft video will be released here shortly after. I get this one posted and done. So that is all I had to discuss today. I thank you all so much for joining in and listening to the podcast. If you are on YouTube, please like the video, subscribe, comment. I love talking with all of you. You make my day when you comment and subscribe and like, and it helps grow the community. Share it. If you're on Spotify, follow, leave a review, leave a comment. Makes my day there too. Helps the podcast grow there too. I'd like to thank you all so much for joining in, and I will talk to you guys next time. Have a great and wonderful weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl and enjoy the Olympics. Have a great day.